If you enjoy subjects such as UFOs, paranormal, 9/11, near-death experiences, and the Rona, well, you're in for a treat. Here's a special with Untitled Planet and the Paranormal Peep Show. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the program. Thank you for watching.
Hello, welcome to the Paranormal Peep Show with myself, Neil Geddes-Ward, and Andy Chaplin. Andy, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Mostly bored in lockdown. I've no idea what the rules are anymore, so they keep changing them every 5 minutes. God knows. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, I know. The rules keep changing. It's almost like you're playing a pack of cards. One minute you got a full deck, and next minute you haven't, and you're thinking, "What the hell am I doing?" So, like, as from a certain date, it's back down to 6 people, where you could meet so many bubbles and God knows what else a few weeks ago.
So it was 2 households, but as many people as you like, and now it's six people, but from only from as many households as possible. I don't know.
But apparently, I don't know if this is true, but I saw that if you're out hunting, fox hunting, drag hunting, you can have loads of people.
Yeah, you can have 50 people if you hunt.
Yeah. Bizarre. That's a bit bizarre indeed, yeah. Anyway, so this is a slightly different sort of show for people that are watching on YouTube. We have a guest, and he's sitting right in front of us, but it's also, he might be using this show on his platform as well. So we've got Paul from Untitled Planet. He's one half of Untitled Planet because his partner Johnny was going to take part in tonight's interview, but he's kind of predisposed, I guess, because it's his birthday coming up. So, well, yeah, he's going to have his birthday tomorrow, and his sister's come to join him. So we'll wish him a happy birthday from us. So it's Paul from Untitled Planet is going to interview us, and we're going to interview him. So welcome, Paul from Untitled Planet. How are you, Paul?
I'm very well, Neil. Hi, Andy. You okay?
Hello. How you doing?
We're good. We're good. So, obviously, Andy and I have been running the Paranormal Peep Show for about 4 years now on the Paranormal UK Radio Network. And it's been going very well. We've been obviously getting better at doing it. I hope we've been getting better at doing it and getting interesting guests along, things like that. So this is the first time we've kind of done a cross-platform chat with people that do their own kind of show. So can you tell our listeners on the Paranormal Peep Show front, what is Untitled Planet and where did it all begin?
Oh gosh, that's the big story, isn't it? Yeah, so basically how it started for me was like 2016. I was really thinking to myself, I want to do something really positive and really, just make something special in my mind anyway. And it was to make a good YouTube channel. And I thought, well, what name should I give it? And a name that came to my head was To Unite the Planet. So I was looking like Unite the Planet, and that was taken already. Planet to Unite, taken already. So eventually I went for Unite Planet, and and it stuck from there. And I met up with my old friend Johnny. I was known him from I was 18 at the time, and I've known him since then into my adulthood, and met up with him again, explained what Unite Planet is all about. He loved the idea, and he came on board, and the rest is history, really.
Great. So, I mean,
what was sort of your main topics of discussion, or your favourite topics within your?
Wow, and that's another thing. We go for many things, so like UFOs to paranormal, to conspiracy theories. I hate that using that word, conspiracy theories. More like critical thinking and things like that, really. Also I'm just thinking of all sorts of things. We've done poetry. People have written about poems, comedy. We do documentaries. We do road trips. We do so many things, really.
Wow, it keeps you really busy by the sound of it, because you've got quite a few videos. I've been watching quite a few of them over the last month or so. Very interesting people that you get on, and you obviously have regular people come back, which is handy.
Exactly.
What is your favourite subject that you personally like?
Near-death experience. That's my favourite topic because I've had one.
Didn't you? Yeah. Do you want to tell us about that? How did all that happen?
Well, I was born with spina bifida, so I've been having problems with my walking since day one. I was born with a hole in my back when I was a baby. I was basically the size of a 2 pence piece in my back, so it was really bad damage to my back, and so from then I've had operations. From all my childhood. So I've had about up to that point of 14 years of age, I've probably had about 12 operations. And so when I was about to have the operation, I was given a muscle relaxant for this one particular operation that I was going to have. And the muscle relaxant was really lethal. Well, it was lethal to me. My heart stopped. And so as I'm getting to the point of like feeling really painful in my body, my hands were like twice. We can't see them very well. My hands were twice as big and red. And I said to my surgeon, "Look at this, Mr. Newton." And he looked around at my hands and face and all this kind of thing, and he said, "Oh, beep," and that was it. I basically then passed out, black, and then the next thing you know, I was above myself. And I saw myself without any stress or anything like that. I just basically said, "Oh, that's me. That's my doctor. That's my nurses." It wasn't me panicking at all. I just thought, "Okay, that's just me." And I wasn't scared. I wasn't panicking. And then I was given 3 beings coming over towards me at that time of me realizing I'm dead. 3 beings, light beings, came over to me and said, "Paul," they didn't say my name even. They said, "Come away from there. You don't want to see that." And so I came away from seeing my body, and then I was whisked into another realm, and I had a life review. In the life review, I saw past, present, future, all in one go, like a big cinema screen. It's not even a screen. It looked like a well of some kind with water and TV, and you can't describe it with words. I can't describe it with words. Anyway, I saw past, present, and future all in one hit. A bit of education going off as well. What was life really about? And then I was given the options: do you want to go back to your body, or do you want to go to the next? But there's basically nudging me and saying, "You're 14 years of age. You've still got lots to learn. You'll go back anyway. If you don't learn now, you'll learn in your next anyway. So you got a choice to make." And I said, "Well, I want to go back to see my family again. And I'm only young." And I went back to my body.
Wow, that's amazing.
What did the beings look like? Were they human, or were they alien, or?
They were very like light beings. I'll tell you what I was to do. I'll show you a picture. Lloyd Canning. I don't know if you've ever heard of an artist called Lloyd Canning.
Yeah.
Well, he painted a picture, and it struck with me straight away. It looked like, can't see it very well.
It's so light they vanish.
It's so light.
Yeah, we're having difficulty with the background issue.
Yeah, I can't.
Tell you what,
I'll tell you what I'll do.
If you supply me that, we can drop that in or edit it in.
I'll do that. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So basically, a light being is without a face. It's really glowing. You can see like almost like eyes in it, but no nose, very slim. Basically, a light being. I had no body at all myself. I think I was actually a light being as well. I was without body, so without. It sounds horrible, but I was like at the time thinking like, it's great because I was no pains in my body anymore. I didn't have any disability anymore. I was thinking like, oh, this is wonderful. It's quite it's quite a relief almost. But then I thought, no, I still want to go back to see my family, and that was reasons why I came back really.
Wow. And so
You
just
said that you had some conversations to do with life and kind of the meanings of life and stuff. I'm quite interested in that.
Okay. So the main reasons why we are here, I gather from that, is really that we're here to learn. That's why we keep coming back. We do reincarnate. That's what I've been told by seeing previous deaths. I saw a lot of deaths. I know it sounds horrible to say. I didn't see previous lives so much of
So you've
myself.
seen
I think
your
it's
previous
myself.
deaths.
I
Right.
saw one which was quite horrific, to be honest with you. It was me or a person falling on a bed of spikes in like a Romany Greek situation going off, basically falling into a bed of spikes and dying on spikes, wooden spikes.
Ouch.
Sounds horrific, I know, but that's what I saw. That was the most horrific one I saw, and remembered me. I remembered it straight away after that. And then so I just saw like death after death after death. And then I saw like things into my future as well. I saw Russia. I'm thinking like when I came out of a 14-year-old lad, I was thinking like that was a very surreal dream. And why am I seeing Russia and all this kind of thing? But anyway, time went by and I married a Russian lady.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's interesting you
Yeah.
talked about the whole in your spine size of a 2 pence piece, but then you mentioned a previous lifetime where you fell on spikes, and
Exactly.
they talk about injuries carry through, don't they, into other lifetimes? So you obviously consider that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I considered that as well. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely think that we choose the body that we go into. I know it sounds horrible to say. People are thinking like, why would he choose to have spina bifida? But I feel like it's a learning curve, and I'm here to learn. So basically, the main reason that we are here is to learn, is to love, and is to connect with people. That's the main reasons why I think that we're here for.
So
I think it's the connecting with people that I find the difficult part. Because this
Yeah.
world is crazy and it's getting crazier, and people are just losing their minds, especially in lockdown.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's making people very, very sensitive, isn't it?
It is.
It's psychologically affecting us, isn't it? It's everyone's being driven crazy by it in one form or another. I mean, at least we can go out on the streets, but no one can do anything like, all these events that, like were cancelled. Andy does this tuned in events where, I mean, you tell Paul about your tuned in events and obviously how it's been affected.
Yeah.
Well, the irony is not lost on me that it's a psychic event that I organise. So
Okay,
I organised
yeah, sure.
probably about 30. It's mostly in kind of like pubs and clubs and things like that, bringing psychic readers together. And I had my eye on the China situation, and I thought, not sure how this is going to play out. We might be all right, but I decided to chance it. So I organised something like 20 events over kind of March, April, May time. And of course, the lockdown came along, and so every single one had to be postponed. And obviously, being a psychic night, should have seen that one coming, mate. But yeah, it is what it is. But I kind of respond to that, and I know that's going to be a criticism, which is fair enough. I kind of respond to that in two ways. Number one, I kind of felt that maybe a lockdown was coming, or maybe the situation would escalate, having an eye on the Chinese situation. And number two, I don't really focus on negative situations or negative things. I think like attracts like, and when I'm doing my readings, I try and look into positive things and a connection with positivity. So lockdown and the virus is a very negative situation, and that's possibly why we as in the psychic community didn't get a heads up. But then again, maybe there are some people who did get it. Maybe there are some psychics and mediums who were warned that this was going to happen. Who knows?
What other things was you shown, Paul, in your future? I mean, you mentioned the Russia connection. Was it particularly to do with your future, your personal future, or the future of the humanity or the world?
Personal future, if I'm honest with you. It wasn't really more of a it was more based on around myself. I saw things like I was going to be driving, and again, 14-year-old lad, disabled, and I was thinking I will never be driving. I really thought I would be quite driven here, driven there, and but anyway, lo and behold, I'm driving. I'm able to drive. So I saw that. I saw sounds horrible as well. Future of like death. It sounds horrible. But I saw maybe it's me again, maybe it's my future, or maybe someone else's future. But I saw Russia again, and dying in with family at my bedside. I don't know again if it's
you
true or
saw
not.
your future death dying in the country of Russia. Oh.
Yeah.
And did you have an
Yeah.
idea of the future or the age you might be?
It looked old. It looked very old. 80s, I would say.
80s.
That's it looked.
Not the 1980s.
No, not 1980s. No,
Maybe you'll end up living in Russia. You know, you say you're.
That sounds like it from the prediction, doesn't it? The future.
Mm.
Now it's interesting because obviously, you know, when you were 14, Russia was the arch enemy, I presume, and you know, it was like, you know, the Great Bear of the Woods, things like that. Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that didn't kind of sway you in any way. Obviously, you know, the fact you married a Russian lady and it's all good and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
interesting.
yeah. The weird thing was though, I didn't see a white wedding. I thought if it was their predictions and stuff like that, why didn't I see a white wedding? Anyway, again, long story short, my wife been married before, and she didn't want a white wedding. She wanted a different kind of a dress. So it was a registered, what's it called? A registry marriage.
Yeah.
So registry, yeah. So it wasn't in a big church or anything like that. It was just a normal registry office. So again, I didn't see that.
Wow.
Was that in England or Russia?
In Russia. Yeah.
You
So I
didn't
got married
have
in
two
Russia.
weddings then. Like a friend of mine who married a Greek guy, she had to get married in Greece. Then she got married again in England. You know, and it's like it's the same guy. But it ended badly, unfortunately. So, you know, doing it twice didn't help. So, but I'm really interested in these out-of-body experiences and things like that. I mean, some people report seeing what is described as the astral cord, like an umbilical cord coming out their navel, going back to the body. But not everyone. You didn't see anything like that?
No, I didn't. No, it's just basically floating above, but at an angle. I was like, to the left and down. That's what I was looking at, really. But I was probably about 2-3 meters up. Sorry.
So I was going to say that the surroundings that you were taken to, was that through a tunnel of light? So you were kind of above your body, and then a tunnel of light, and then you said this well type thing, and the three beings, or how did that work?
It was basically like these three beings came to me in the room where I was looking at myself in surgery.
Yeah.
But then these three beings said, come away from there, or do you want to come with us, kind of thing. It was almost like, again, a conversation of agreement. And I said, okay, I don't want to see that anyway. I don't, it wasn't horrific to me, but literally I was thinking like, well, I want to go away now. Yeah, okay, that's fine. And so we both agreed, and then it was like being whisked off. So it's like a speedy fast tracking to another realm. And then before you know it, I'm literally in this realm where I could see even more souls. It wasn't just me and three souls. It was a whole country of souls. I would say a whole realm of souls. There was so many, so busy. No, there was no facial recognitions at all for me. I mean, people say I saw Jesus, I saw my granddad, I saw this and the other. I didn't see any faces at all, and that's what confuses me, to be honest with you. But no, that was just my take on it. It was just I thought I was a light being because I saw all the light beings there, and I thought, okay, I must be the same.
So everyone looked exactly the same in a sense, like big glowing figures.
Yeah.
And were they like all groups of three with a soul that they've just taken? Like, so you saw groups of four, maybe, for each.
I didn't really pay attention to groups. I'll be honest with you. I saw what I did see was, like I say, it was very busy. So I'd like to say I didn't really pay attention to like groups. I was more involved in my own life review as well. And when I was showing around, I saw like ones having re-energizing. So they basically had I was explaining that these were having bad karma having to them. They had like, I don't know, like cancer or a very horrific death. that they had to like sit in like a booth of some kind and re-energize themselves with colors. So I saw that as well.
Interesting. Wow. Now that
and I
sounds like.
saw. Go on.
I was going to say, it sounds like unlike anything I've heard of these after-death things, because most accounts I've read, most people sort of float out your body like you had, but then they say they see a tunnel of light, they float through it, there's a big bright white light that sort of says, do you want to stay here, do you want to cross over, do you want to come back? And it's almost like a sort of celestial being type of light force or whatever you want to call it. And that's where their decisions are made. But then 99% of them, from what I recollect reading about, say they never had any life review. They would just ask how they felt they're doing or something, and that was it. So it's interesting. Maybe it varies on according to the age you are or something, because
maybe.
I've had quite a few actually talking about life reviews, Neil.
Have you? Yeah.
Yeah. And this thing about the three beings, I've also heard experiences where people have had like hooded beings where they're not negative or anything, they just look like monks, but they're facing away so you can't see them. But the person kind of like talking about their life and reviewing their life with these hooded beings, it's almost like the hooded beings represent parts of them, so they're almost kind of like reviewing themselves.
Do you know, I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, like higher selves or sort of thing. Yeah. So I just wonder if those three beings could have been your higher selves.
Yeah, that was it. That was the direction I was going to maybe.
Yeah, possible. Yeah, I never thought of it that way, to be honest with you. So you got me thinking that way.
Yeah. Now, have you heard of Robert Monroe by any chance?
I know. I haven't.
Okay. All right. He wrote a really classic book in the field of New Age, or whatever you want to call it, paranormal, called Journeys Out the Body in about 1970 or 71. And he was like a radio producer stroke engineer, and he was actually experimenting with learning different languages by playing a recording, say, of the French language through headphones as he went to sleep, by putting the tape recorder under the bed, and he'd play it all night. And he would do that. But after a while, he started to get real bad pains in his stomach. And I actually think in hindsight, it's probably the solar plexus. And he went and get checked up by the doctor, and the doctor could find nothing wrong with him. And he's baffled. But then maybe a week or so later, he found that this got worse. And he was actually started to roll out of his body and sort of fall through the floor. And that's where he discovered that he could get out of his body, and he learned actually techniques to get himself out on a sort of voluntary basis, whenever he wanted to, sort of thing. But he felt it was triggered somehow by doing something with the recordings, and it somehow triggered something in his body or psyche or whatever that released his soul. And he never used to see sort of, afterlife sort of big white celestial balls and things like that. But he occasionally was helped out of his body by beings, helpers, he called them, who used to lift him under his arm and like fly out with him somewhere. and they would traverse. And sometimes he'd just go down the street and see his daughter in another part of the United States, or friends of his. And other times he would actually go onto the spirit world. He didn't call it the spirit world. He had names for it. He called Locale 1, which was Earth, Locale 2, which he said was the afterlife. Then he had a Locale 3, where he sometimes used to end up. It was almost like an alternate reality Earth, where he lived there, but as a different him with a different job and everything. And he sometimes took over that body for like 6 months or something, or what appeared to be like 6 months. Very interesting stuff.
Wow.
So I would suggest, if you're interested in out of body stuff, is try and get a copy of Journeys Out the Body by Robert Monroe. It's a classic book.
I will. I'll definitely.
He gives instructions. I must warn listeners about this as well, and viewers. He gives instructions at the back of the book of how to actually do the process. But he does say it comes with a price. He says once you learn this process, it's like Pandora's box. You can't stop it. And my friend read the book. He learned the process, and then he regretted attempting to do it, because he said he used to shoot out of his body high above the earth and look down at the earth, which was round. This is before the arguments of flat earth started. He never said it was a flat earth. Then he used to come back to his body, but he said that was happening all the time. He couldn't stop it. So that's the thing. If you learn how to do it, be wary, because you could end up doing it, and it might pee you off going out your body too much, sort of thing. So that's for anybody that's there. Just that cautionary note there. If you don't want that, don't read the end of it or even be tempted. Just read the beginning parts of the book and the middle and stuff like that. But he used to have battles outside his body as well. Little creatures used to attack him and stuff like that, and bite him and stuff, like children.
Wow.
Like imp type creatures. But he actually, again, later on in one of the other books, he actually sort of went back to that episode and said, I actually think they were part of me in some weird way, because the faces changed like his children or him or something like that. So, yeah, like you say, Andy, were these beings the higher self, if you like, of Paul's? So maybe with Robert Monroe's case, these things that were attacking him were actually part of his own subconscious.
Actually, on that note, Paul, a lot of people report after having near-death experiences, suddenly psychic stuff begins to happen. They become very psychic, mediumistic. They see spirits. They can communicate with spirits. Did you have that kind of stuff happening in your life?
I think I've always have been quite open to that, if I'm honest with you. I've seen things when I was younger, even before the near-death experience. I predicted something when I was, I'll say about 4 or 5 at the time. I was in a shop with my mum, and was going between one shop to another shop in a village town. So it's like a little bit of a pathway between 2 shops. And I had a horrible prediction. I just felt like, Mum, let's get out of here, Mum. And I was really like, I was determined to get, Mum, I want to get out of here. Anyway, long story short, in my 20s, I get to the same situation in that same strip with a guy that took money off me, and I got so angry with him, and I was going to do something that I probably might have regretted. Bang! Something said, Paul, come away from here. And that's where, so what I predicted in that childhood came to me at that moment, and it stopped me from doing what I was going to do next, which was going to be probably beat him up. But but I was angry, I was livid, but again, something stopped me. It was maybe my like a past memory of that. So I predicted things as well, yeah. So yeah, I do have a little bit of psychicness anyway, a little bit, not totally, not as very good as yourselves. But that's why I do. Yeah, I do have a little bit of experience.
I'm sure it could be developed.
Well, the reason I kind of like ask that is because talking about the psychic attacks and the imps and the biting and stuff, I found that at the early stages of kind of opening up mediumistically and psychically, back then I was all love and lights. This is quite a few years ago, and it was within a spiritualist environment. So it was all angels and clouds and love and light, and it was all fantastic until I started getting weird stuff happening, dream intrusions by not particularly nice entities, and weird things happening around the house that were not particularly nice. And then it started kind of being quite evident that actually what had happened is I'd opened a door, and as well as the love and light coming in, which I still believe is out there, some of the nasties were coming in as well. So I think with this kind of thing, near-death experiences and opening up mediumistically, you've got to be really careful, as Neil says, because you can open up as you say, Pandora's box of God knows what else is out there, imps or demonics or earth beings. It's just crazy out there.
Yeah. So do you think it's like a 50-50, like duality, of good and bad, in obviously in here and out there? Is that your thoughts?
Exactly. I think it's 50-50, and I also think, and I don't know how you feel about this, Paul, I think we're in a spiritual war right now on this planet, on Earth. I think it's dark versus light. And I think there's a Japanese saying that says, "Do not be the nail that I don't know what's the word, shows itself, because that's the one that's going to get hit on the head with the hammer."
Right.
And I think that's absolutely true spiritually and psychically. I think if you open up psychically and spiritually, you could end up trying to help humanity and trying to awaken people and trying to kind of think outside the prison system. And at that point, you've got the guards, and I think the guards are these demonic entities and the negative ones that think, oh, there's one that's about to jump the cage, let's go after him. I don't know what your thoughts on that, but I think
I can understand that. Definitely, that resonates with me. Definitely, yeah. I think there is definitely. I think there's also maybe like a certain amount of consciousness that's restricted in maybe in our bodies, and maybe our DNA is probably preventing certain people from going out of the box. Type of thing, because I'm out of the box. I think my consciousness is open. I think it always has been open, even when I was younger. Like I say, I've seen things, so I think I've always have been more open than some people naturally. But some people can grow. But again, like you said, I think there are certain things, entities that will keep those, like in prison.
It's like the sheepdogs. I think there are actual beings out there that are like sheepdogs, and when they see people kind of about to kind of expand their own consciousness, they kind of round them up back into the sheep pen. And now we're going into the David Icke territory of the sheep and the sheeple and the sheep pen. I don't know what you think of David Icke, but I think there's a lot of strange stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that really resonates that I feel is quite true.
Didn't you go down to the Trafalgar Square thing with David Icke? You guys on Unite Planet, didn't you? No, well, you went somewhere.
No, I went to the Birmingham one. There was like a freedom gathering, and there was Gareth Icke there.
Ah, right, okay.
I've seen David Icke in a couple of conferences, and I like what he does mainly. I question about the 9/11 things a little bit. I don't think there was, in my eyes, there was what's it called, demolished by the usual methods. I think it was something maybe more like a directed energy weapon on that day.
Dr. Judy Wood theory or case for that, isn't it?
Yeah, that's more my learning of it. But so far, anyway, like I say, I'm very open. I'm willing to change anyway. I'm willing to be, taught. I don't keep myself boxed in on one thing. If my mind changes, then it will change. But that's where I am so far with that. Yeah. And what about yourselves in regards to David Icke? What's your thoughts about David Icke?
Go for it, Neil.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I first read David Icke books back in about 1989. I think it was The Truth Vibrations. And I thought it was a bit sort of woolly at the time. It was a basic kind of, hey, I found mediumships and this is what they do kind of book. Because then I lent it to a friend of mine who thought it was good. But then I started reading the Seth books by Jane Roberts, which was really in-depth, heavy kind of channeled material stuff. Which like kind of, whoa, this stuff is really heavy stuff. And so David Icke stuff seemed like kindergarten stuff in comparison to it. So I left him for a long, long time. I concentrated on the Seth books and still read the Seth books. And then about 15 years ago, someone bought me one of the more recent David Icke books, which had 9/11 in it, for a birthday present. It was a great big thick book and talked about Diana's death and 9/11 and all that sort of stuff. It was very interesting. So I thought, oh, he's come on a long way since, So, and of course, I've seen his videos and interviews and things like that, and he's kind of changed a bit over the years. Obviously, I suppose he would be the first to admit that he's evolved as well with his understanding of stuff, But I thought it was interesting that all those years ago on the Wogan show, people were absolutely laughing their heads off at him now, and now see the bloke who can fill out theatres and all sorts of places and big and all the people come to see him at these protests and things like that. They're all thinking, crikey, I'm hopefully though all the people that have seen him live were not the ones that are laughing at him back then, and the open-minded people perhaps watching the Wogan show, which and just thinking, no, this guy's onto something, but we don't quite know what, but let's go with him and see where he goes with it, and thankfully they did. And he's gone through his little phase of changing his colours of his outfits or something, his turquoise jumpsuits or whatever he was wearing back then. And, he's evolved and he's got a much more greater handle on things, I think, now. And I do respect what he does. I really think he's, he's a good guy overall. I may not agree or believe everything he says. I wasn't so sure about the reptilian thing. And I still haven't seen evidence for reptilian, but then I keep hearing about it. So I'm thinking, well, maybe they are out there. I'm like you say, I'm open-minded. I'm be prepared. You hear all these other things about reptilians and other people that have said they've seen them and that are nothing to do with David Icke. So you think, well, maybe there is something to it. So that's my take on David Icke. I'm prepared to give the guy time of day, as it were.
Yeah.
I think with me, with David Icke, I was actually quite pissed off watching the Wogan show because it was. I don't know if you remember, but it was quite hyped to begin with. Like just before it went on air, it was quite hyped. Oh, this is the man that can speak to God, or the man that's going to tell us the future. And I was quite looking forward to it. Sat down, watched it, and Wogan was just ripping into him, and I just thought. and at the end of the Wogan show, I was thinking, well, what's he actually, what are these big secrets? What is it that David Icke is wanted to tell the world? Because he's, we haven't got the opportunity to see that because Wogan's ruined it. So I was quite annoyed with that. I didn't actually touch Icke. I was going through my kind of love and light stage. This is kind of like year 2000. So this was kind of like spiritualism, love and light, rainbows and unicorns, working with spirit, all that kind of thing. Then I started getting the weird entities or the weird experiences turning up, which made me realise that this world isn't quite so love and light. I then got kind of talking to some spiritual people who pointed me in the direction of some of his lectures. And at this point, they were online. Whether it was YouTube or not, I don't know. It might have been another platform back then, kind of like mid 2000s, I'd say. And I kind of like you, Neil, I wasn't sure about this reptilian thing at first. I actually thought, oh, that's the guy that believes the Queen is a lizard. That's the kind of like the typical perception of what the mainstream media would think. But then, well, I think the first one I saw was Freedom Road, in terms of like one of his videos, which was something like 6 hours long, something like that. And I was just addicted to it. He covered so many things, because he doesn't just go into the reptiles thing. He goes into the banking system, the Illuminati, the Freemasonic links, all of that kind of thing. The more I was listening, the more I was thinking, actually, maybe he's onto something here. And unfortunately, where we are now in 2020, it's all bloody coming true. We've got the microchip agenda, we've got the vaccine agenda, we've got the pandemic, we've got the New World Order. I don't know if you've seen the scenes in Australia at the moment in their markets. They've got like stormtroopers, police dressed like stormtroopers, and they've got kind of full lockdown in Melbourne. It's just crazy. And a place like Australia that's supposed to be free and happy and kind of, surfing and all that kind of
neighbours.
Neighbours. And now we've got martial law, essentially. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, home and away, crikey.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Where do we go with
exactly. Well, I was going to ask about yourselves then. So obviously you know a little bit about myself. What about yourselves? How did Paranormal Peepshow come together?
Well, one of those happy accidents of serendipity, I guess, because I ran the High Wycombe Paranormal Meetup group in High Wycombe in Buckinghamshire for a number of years, and I saw Facebook Irene Allen, who looked to be a producer of radio shows or presenting, and I thought, oh, she might know a few people that I could maybe, ask her for potential people that might want to come and talk at my group. So a friend requested her, or we hooked up, chatted, even on phoned on the same day that we hooked up. So we had a little chat on the phone, which was quite nice. And it turned out she started asking me for people instead. so instead of me, culling all her guests, I ended up giving her names and addresses of all sorts of people who've since become presenters on the thing, like Philip Kinsella and Ronnie Kinsella, people like that. And so she said to me, would I like to be a guest on the Paranormal UK radio network? And I said, yeah, sure. So with her and Mark Johnson, her co-host, who's in the United States, I guested on their show and did a 2-hour chat with them about fairies, ghosts, spirits, that kind of stuff. And then it was about 2 or 3 weeks later, they said to me, would I be able to possibly run their show for one episode, because they both happen to be going on holiday, not to the same place, but because they've both got respective partners, they just happened to be booked holidays at the same time. They needed their recording doing. So she asked me, would I be interested in doing a show? So I said, yeah, sure, okay. Now she teamed me up with a guy who I spoke to over Skype and was all going to go ahead with it. But when it came down to it, he didn't show up. And so I thought, oh, crikey. So I knew that, I was going to try and have a little chat with him pre-show, maybe a few days before, just to sort of, everything okay, all going good, I'll see you on such and such a date. Never heard back from him. So I thought, oh, crikey. So I thought, right, I'll contact Andy, who I met at a psychic workshop a few years earlier. And that's where we started doing our voices. I think I mentioned that. Do your President Trump, Andy. Do your President Trump.
We're gonna have a fantastic time here. Vote Republican for this election, okay? We can't have the communists in. We don't. Joe Biden is out. Bad guy. Very bad guy.
And I was doing my Mr. Burns. Welcome, time to release the hounds, time to release the virus, and time to release the vaccines. So, yeah, I was doing my Mr. Burns and all that. And that's Crepitine, and that's out there chocolate cake for a Wurzel, Wurzel Gummidge. And so we got on well. So we kind of, stayed in contact with each other. And so I messaged Andy and said, look, do you want to be a guest on this radio show? Tell me all about your psychic experiences and stuff. And then I said, we got to interview someone else. I said, hang around for part 2 of the show where we're going to interview another guy, but you can be the presenter with me on that one. So on part 2 of that show, we both sort of co-hosted the second part of it and asked our guests various questions. And then basically some point later, Irene and Mark said, look, we're going to expand our network. We think you guys should do a show together. What do you think? We said, yeah, sure. Okay. So Andy thought of the name, the Paranormal Peep Show. Which, Andy, you can say, why is it called the Paranormal Peep Show? People must want to know.
Because although the subject matter is serious and we do have serious conversations, we're also slightly eccentric and slightly nutty, and we do have a sense of humour. Therefore, we wanted a title that's kind of like a little bit cheeky. A little bit cheeky. So that's and it just kind of like flows off the tongue. Paranormal Peep Show. It's just kind of like
Yeah,
I
love it.
It creates a smile, and that's what we want.
Exactly, that's all about, isn't it?
Yeah. So we've been running the Paranormal Peep Show for approximately 4 years, and my God, doesn't time fly? And we've interviewed Anthony Peake, I think, in one of our first shows, and I know that you've interviewed him as well. So it's nice to see that you're catching some of the same guests as us. How
many interviews have we done, Neil? I really haven't kept.
How many interviews have we done? I don't know. I've never counted it up, but I did start to upload some of our shows to the new channel.
Oh, good,
I was having problems with that, actually, but I realised what it was. That I had to give them my phone number on YouTube. And once I gave them my phone number, they let me upload longer shows. They'll let you upload shows for 15 minutes in duration.
Okay.
But if you don't give them your phone number, that's it. So I realised, this is where I'm going wrong, because it kept spent all day trying to upload these shows and nothing was happening. I thought, what's going on? So then I realised, I've got to put my phone number in. And once it was that, the gates were open. So I've started to upload some more shows, and I'll do that in the next few days as well.
Bizarre. So for anyone listening, Neil, it's on YouTube. If people type in the Paranormal Peep Show, they should find it, shouldn't they?
They should do. I mean, if there's any doubts, go to Neil Peel at the minute, NeilPeel. And if you're watching on YouTube, it's likely that you might have found us on there. But we have a dedicated Paranormal Peep Show YouTube channel, which Andy has instigated and started up. So we will be uploading all old shows to that as well. So from I think about the 17th of July, you should start to see some shows appearing on that platform as well. So yeah, that's where we're at, and we're always happy to chat with anyone that's got anything of interest to say on a paranormal kind of subject. We do delve into the conspiracy stuff because we've interviewed people like Marcus Allen, who talked about the Apollo moon landings, which was interesting and challenged at the same time because you're doing it without vision. You're doing it as a podcast, and you're trying to describe the Apollo moon hoax photos, if they are that, over the radio. And you think, what are you talking about? Shadows, lights, and flags and things like that. So that's a challenge in itself. But that forked off into another road, which we then developed as something called the Apollo Detectives, which Andy and I take part in. And we have a few other people that co-host. Ben Emlyn Jones hosts it for us. And we get all these Apollo people, hoax theorists, if you like, or whatever they call it, researchers from around the world. And we'll take part in a session like this over Skype. And they'll do their presentations and show us all their video clips or pictures they've researched or holes in the Apollo record, that kind of stuff, which is very interesting. I find that sort of thing.
There are many.
Yeah. I mean, what's your thoughts on the Apollo record, Paul? Any ideas where you think it's fake or real? Or
I think it's if I'm more siding towards one way, it'll be to say it's fake. Because after interviewing Andrew Johnson. He's been a regular guest on our show. He's researched it so much, and he's told me about the orange juice. I don't know if you heard about the orange juice.
Leaking in the helmet.
I thought that to me was the biggest clue to me, saying it was faked for that reason. What's your thoughts about it?
For the orange juice, for those that need to know, that was in a film called crikey, I can't remember the title now. I know which film he's talking about on YouTube. But it's basically on Apollo 17, I believe it was, where orange juice got onto one of the films of the Hasselblad cameras, and I can't remember the details. It somehow leaked out into the helmet or something, and they said that it got round the ring of the helmet. And Andrew Johnson was basically saying, and so this other guy was saying, that if that's the case, then it shows that these helmets aren't sealed super tight for vacuums of space, because orange juice can obviously leak in them. If you can, and he said, air molecules are smaller than water molecules, so obviously the air could escape out your suit, and so in about maybe a minute or two, your suit would have decompressed or something. So
That's right.
that was one of the holes in that one. I've also seen videos where there's guys banging hammers onto rocks on the moon. You can hear the sound of the hammer. Now they say the defenders of Apollo say that that's because the suit is acting like a drum, like a vibration, and it's going up into the suit and being picked up by the microphone on their Snoopy cap, which is what they wear inside the helmet. But then again, this guy in this video shows this strap or something. They untie a strap off something on the lunar surface, and this guy throws it away, because they weren't very good with the environment back then in the 70s. They just threw it onto the moon's surface, but it actually caught the lunar module, and you can hear a clunk as it hits it. And you're thinking, now where can you hear? Why are you hearing that clunk of the noise? Where's the microphone vessel to pick that up? Is it inside the lunar module switched on, or is it being picked up by their Snoopy caps or something like that? Because obviously, if you're trying to fake an Apollo landing, you wouldn't have microphones on set to pick up the sound, because that's the idea. You don't want that. So there must be microphones either in the Snoopy caps that are picking it up as it hits the clunk or something like that. So again, that's a little bit fishy. And then we've seen flag waving. Yeah,
you've also got the international space station. When they're doing repairs and things using hammers, it's silent. You see them silent. Completely silent. So which is it? Is it that there's a microphone that can pick it up, or is it a microphone that can't pick it up? It can't be both.
Yeah. And also the other thing that Andrew Johnson, I think, mentioned was the International Space Station. This is actually something that Jared White pointed out, I believe, that is that the flag on the International Space Station, or the Russian space station, I think Mir or something. It was the flag was completely pulverized by micrometeorites after 6 months and radiation and things like that. And they're saying now that from the lunar reconnaissance orbiter photographs, where they're supposedly looking down on the landing sites, and this lunar reconnaissance orbiter is orbiting the moon, taking photos from 25 kilometers high, and they said, "Oh, look, there's the flag." But they said that the people like Andrew Johnson and Jared White are saying that flag shouldn't be there, because it would have been pulverized by multi meteorites, and the radiation would have just burnt the flag away. If it did go to the moon. And yet here is the flag being displayed on the lunar surface in these photographs. So they're interesting points as well. So we find the whole thing very, very interesting to debate, and we just go deeper down the rabbit hole for that, don't we, Andy?
We do. I love it. I love some of NASA's explanations as well. So the missing telemetric data, reams and reams of telemetric data. Oh, it's in a warehouse. It's missing. We don't know where it is.
Yes. Yeah. And it all got very fishy, because the guy that was killed on the Apollo launch pad, I forget which one it was, Apollo 6 or something, forget his name now, who was burnt with the other two astronauts, and he was Gus Grissom. Yes, Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee were burnt in the Apollo. It might have been Apollo 1 fire or something on the launch pad. And he hung a lemon outside the capsule to say the whole thing was a lemon. He actually called a press conference to say the whole thing was a complete shambles, and they're never going to get to the moon unless they do something drastically. And so this guy, after the Apollo 1 fire where they were killed, was commissioned, and I forget his name now, to investigate the whole thing. And he came out with a 500-page report. In fact, he came out with a bigger report, but 500 pages of it still exists somewhere. And he was killed on a railroad accident, wasn't he? Where his family,
his car broke down on a railroad.
And then it was hit by the train, and the train didn't stop.
No.
You could see it from miles away, and it didn't stop. It just went straight through it. Yeah. So his family were killed completely. So again, that's all a bit of a suspicious to me. And there's all these little suspicious cover-ups going on with the whole thing. It doesn't quite play true. Now, that's one part of NASA from sort of 50 plus years ago. But obviously, we've got NASA today, which are different teams. They're different people. They might still have people in there that are, like the CIA might still be handling the Apollo story, perhaps in the background. But obviously, NASA progresses. You get all these other people take over and they're doing missions to Mars and things. And now we're hearing, of course, the latest news is about Venus. With supposedly some gas or smell or something in the upper atmosphere 35 miles up, which they think might contain alien life. What do you guys think to that?
Yeah, Paul, you go.
No, you go for it, friend. You go for it first, my friend.
I was going to say, it could turn out. Remember the Mars thing where they said they found life on Mars because they found some meteorite with Mars. And
wormy things in.
Wormy things, and it turned out that the wormy things might actually originate from Earth, but I suppose that was found on Earth. I think how will we ever know, really, unless we send a probe there? So we'd have to wait for the information coming back. But then again, we're trusting NASA to give us the correct information coming back. But then another part is kind of like, is this preparing mankind for the eventual news that there is life out there? Because I don't know if you saw the interview where Trump was asked about what goes on in Area 51 and has he ever seen Area 51, and he kind of smirks and goes, oh, I can't tell you, but it's very interesting. Yeah, he basically said, I can't tell you, but it is interesting. It's very interesting. Do you guys think there will ever be disclosure? I mean, it's the $64,000 question, but do you think they'll ever come out with it?
For myself, I think there's that. What's the pop singer? Not pop singer. It's like a famous American pop singer that's done disclosure in America. I forgot what it's called now, but to the Stars Academy.
Oh, Tom DeLonge.
Yeah. I think that is itself, I think, some kind of a disclosure, drip feeding us. But I think that's also very heavily CIA, FBI, or whatever. I think it's not very, I can't say the right word for it, but I don't trust it. I don't trust that at all. But in regards to disclosure, I think they'll just drip feed us, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, because if you come out and the president says, look, ladies and gentlemen, we've found life on XYZ planet and they've landed here 50 years ago, we've been negotiating with them and all your iPhones have actually come from these people or something, then we're going to go, oh my God. And really, some of the arguments are they can't disclose too much because it would overturn religions, and millions of people believing in Christianity or whatever it may be, their whole world will be turned upside down. And they'll have to rewrite the Bible in some way or something, which that won't be the first time. So I suspect that what they're doing is this drip, 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 drip feed. Every 10 years, you get a little nugget of alien something or other. Oh, we discovered exoplanets outside the solar system. They might contain life. And then suddenly, oh, we discovered this on Venus. It might contain life. It's this weird cloud that smells like fish or something like that, they said. And that's the recipe for making life. Now, it's an interesting thing that is that they have sent probes to Venus since the 1960s, apparently, way through to the 70s, the Russians included. And, because it's so hot, because it's so close to the sun, these probes might only last about 2 or 3 hours before they melt and cease to function. So you have got photographs from the surface of Venus when you see the landing pad of the craft, and there's, you can see it, and it works for a little bit. But one guy, and I forget who it is, pointed out, saying, well, these probes have come down by parachute through the atmosphere of Venus, which is full of acid rain, really hot temperatures that would burn anything. So how come it hasn't burnt the parachutes and the string? And so, maybe it's special fireproof parachutes. I don't know. But I thought, oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Why didn't those parachutes burn up in the heat as it came down with the really high temperatures and things? I mean, it's supposedly cooler in the upper atmosphere, 35 miles up, but as you get closer where the heat can't escape, that's where you're going to have real problems. And those parachutes would have burnt up, presumably, the closer you got to the planet. So, just a moot point that has been pointed out before, really. But then again, there's people like the Aetherius Society that have stated in interviews with us that there is life on Venus and other planets like Saturn, but there's spiritual beings existing on those planets, which Might be hard for some people
Okay.
to understand because they're so much more used to physical beings that you touch, but they're saying they're spiritual beings that inhabit those planets, which, maybe that's true. If we got ghosts that inhabit our planet in some shape or form, or weird fairy folk or whatever, then maybe you've got something over there that inhabit their own kind of fairy realm on Venus or something. Maybe there are. It could be. There used to be claims of abductees and UFO experiences back in the 50s that said, oh, yeah, I've been taken aboard a UFO and they took me to their planet Venus and things like that. And everyone came from Venus in those days on these abductee stories. Now, maybe if we're stretching a little bit of credibility, we've been told all the time there's no life on any other planet in our solar system apart from Earth. Now, we're, again, taking NASA's word for that. We can't check ourselves. So how do we know that hasn't been a lie since it was discovered? Because they have had reports out where they say that if you discover life on planets, you can't really tell the public. You got to tread really carefully. So it could be that we're given the story that planet's way too hot, but in fact it might be actually okay in reality. And there could be civilizations down there. We just don't know. I mean, Venus is covered in clouds and things, so you can't exactly see cities and things through the clouds. But maybe there are. I just don't know. But I thought, as we're being drip fed this information, that there could be, no one was looking at Venus. Everyone was looking at Mars, weren't they? And suddenly everyone says, no, actually, it's look over your shoulder, back towards the sun. It's Venus we should be looking at. That's where all the gooey stuff is, and that's the stuff we should be sticking on our petri dishes and probing and stuff, And there's all these missions being planned to Mars and costing billions of dollars. Really, they should have just sent a few things in orbit and things to fly through the atmosphere of Venus a bit more.
Yeah. And also, I think it's also to do with fuel. I think because also we've been using fuel to get from A to B. And if we get to find out that there's actually UFOs able to get from A to B, but without any petrol or gas, whatever, and it's just free energy, that's going to pee off a lot of rich, people that own, petrol stations and oil companies and stuff. I think so. That's the thing. I think that's the main reason why they don't want to disclose it, in my opinion.
Now, I think what we'll take a break here because I know that you do have some experiences with UFOs, don't you, Paul? So maybe we could hear about those in part 2, which would be very interesting to discuss as we're going that way. So I'll just like to say thank you very much for everyone listening to part 1 of the Paranormal Peep Show. We're doing a special with Unite Planet. And so it's from Unite Planet. We'll all see you in a minute. Bye for now.